Welcome,
Chris,
everybody, and thanks for joining us today. Looks like we've got folks from all over the Southeast, but also I think we've got folks from some other regions as well, which is terrific. Love to share the wealth and share the knowledge. All right, let's jump in. Keely, this is exciting. I've been looking forward to this. Really have. So I'm Chris Fritsch. I am the president and founder of CLIENTSFirst Consulting. For the last, it's going to be 18 years, I've had this company. Over that period of time, have worked together with literally hundreds of top law firms. CLIENTSFirst focuses on CRM Success Consulting. I know that is not an oxymoron. It actually can be done. We also do a lot of work with data quality. So my goal is to really help firms successfully select and implement CRM and related and integrated technology in such a way that they get value and ROI. And a big piece of that too is data quality. So a big piece of that company is we have about 100 outsourced data stewards that do a lot of data work for firms, both automated and manual data stewarding. But actually today I'm sort of joining you from a fun new place, Greenfield Opus, which is another company that came up with. And if you ever check out our relationships, Treelationships website, it's like relationships with a T in front of it because our product is called Tree. But it tells you a little bit about Greenfield Opus, and the idea behind the company was something completely greenfield. And Opus means sort of a brand new work. And so the idea was to create something completely new in this whole CRM area. So we'll talk more about that at the end. But I would like to talk more about my co-panelist and friend Keely, because she is the best. She has been so instrumental and helpful on this. Keely?
thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am the director of marketing for Haynsworth Sinkler Boyd Law Firm. I sit in Columbia, South Carolina, and we have offices in North and South Carolina. We have about 115 attorneys, and I lead a small but very, very mighty team of 3.5. Our half is an intern and we're going to talk about some resources with interns, and I've been very blessed to have some really good folks on our team that work very hard. I am the past president of LMA and have just nothing but great things to say about this organization. I know we have a lot of guests today that might not be members of LMA, and just encourage you all to consider joining and getting involved in your local region or LMA as a whole. There are so many resources. That's how I met Chris. I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, we met at a conference, and
I think it's longer than that.
Probably. Found out, all the wonderful experience and expertise that Chris has. And that's one thing that we're going to be talking about today is, using creative sources for technology experience, because as we are all small and mid-sized firms, we need that extra support. So here at my firm, we focus on all things marketing and business development and all that comes with it. And since we are a smaller team, we all wear many hats. And I think, thinking about what we do best is we connect the dots. We make sure internally we're connecting the dots, externally with our attorneys and thought leadership, clients. That's really what we're focused on, connecting the dots to make our firm better and increase business. So I'll move on to our agenda today.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk, share knowledge sort of from different viewpoints, from the internal in-house and industry level, and from sort of the external consulting and provider level as well. But it's all focused on smaller firms, the challenges they face, how to avoid them, get past them, and how to specifically use technology and a little bit of strategy to do that. And at the end, we're going to talk a little bit more about a new piece of software that helps with that. And we're going to finally end up with some tips and tricks. You always want to make sure you get at least three takeaways. You're drinking from the fire hose during these, discussions. So we want to make sure you get some really relevant stuff out of it. But throughout, please feel free to type in your questions. And when we get a stopping point, we will address those questions throughout the presentation.
Great. All right, so starting off with challenges for the smaller and mid-sized firms, I think that we all can experience this, but more manual systems and processes, like we're experts at using the resources that we have in-house and trying to create different workarounds. If we may not be able to purchase that technology yet, we are nimble in pulling in different resources in-house. Obviously, one major challenge is budget. That can put a stop to implementing some of the larger systems. I would just, one thing that we do here is we really try to focus on what we can implement and when. Our time and budgets are very limited sometimes, and we have to, take things at little bites and focus on them, implement them, make them work, move on to the next. One definite resource that we have is our IT teams. I know some firms may have smaller IT departments that really are focused more on, making sure that attorneys have the resources that they need to do their jobs, help our clients, and adding in some of these other technology systems is difficult when the staff is limited. Not only our staff, but our IT staff. So definitely need to get your internal departments on the same page before we jump into different technologies. I have a story on that and how it impacted one of our decisions that we're recreating now with Chris's expertise and support. As Chris mentioned, obviously with data stewards for CRM, which we are going to talk about a good bit later, is very important because, small teams do not have a lot of times that person that can spend the time on the data to make sure that the data is right. I mean, once we are able to get the technology in, if the data is not right, it's not going to help us at all. And that's where, you can definitely use your vendors you might not have the experience on the marketing technology, might not know what is out there if you're, newer to your firm, or you just want to understand some of the different technology. There's lots of options that are out there. And one vendor that I have, I wanted to pass along is the Ruby Law group, and they have a tech stack survey that you can complete on their website, just to give them a shout out, because that way, they ask you about all different kinds of marketing technology, some of which we'll talk about later on in the session, but they can give you a stack of, where you line up and where the opportunities may be, and they give you some suggestions on different technology. So definitely something that I try to do and look at. I just submitted the survey a couple of weeks ago, and they'll reach out and send you your stacks. And again, since we all wear different hats, we have less time to learn all of the complex systems that these technologies provide. And using vendors and consultants that do have the expertise is a great way to, they can bring in folks to help train and give us the knowledge that we need to make the appropriate decisions. Chris, anything on challenges before I move on?
Yeah, I think you covered it. You live it every day.
I do. That is true. We do more with less, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there are some, thinking about the challenges, there are also a lot of opportunities for the smaller and mid-sized firms. One is pricing. Fewer people, if it's at enterprise level, it might be a little bit less expensive for us to be cost conscious and economical with the choices that we make. We do have, less layers of approval. We can, I have a direct line with our managing director and all of our other departments. So if there is a need, sometimes it is much easier to say, hey, this is the need. We need to get this in-house and do the technology quickly. So that is a benefit. Lower overhead of, offices and main resources there. We can easily move some budgets around and get the funds that we need and time. And it's not just budget, the time is important too. Outsourcing staff, so helpful for smaller and mid-sized firms, and LMA brings you access to a lot of those resources. You can meet people that you can work with to outsource things, not only technology and CRM, but some of those other daily things, PR, social media management, website management, and design. I mean, we'll talk about Canva later, but there are so many different things with design that if that's not a skill set in your team, reach out to an advertising firm. It doesn't even have to be an advertising firm. There are those online resources where you can put a PowerPoint out there and have someone fix it for you, and you pay for it, and it's very inexpensive. I can't think of the name right now. Chris, I think you might have used them in the past, but there's a website for that. If there's a need to get some technology to address a niche practice area or a new service line that we want to focus on, again, I think we can be nimble to get that, to move that ahead. I'm trying to think of the name. April, I'll Google it while Chris is.
Somebody will put it
up there.
Yeah.
It's like 5. I'll remember it. And the opportunity to be creative and nimble. We'll talk a little bit more about that with some of the specific technologies, but being able to have the conversations internally with the other departments, finding out who has a skill set that we might need that can help us create a technology internally. It might not be an experience management database, but it could be the start of one. And being creative with understanding the skill sets and resources that we have internally, or that we could tap a vendor and a consultant for, is very helpful. Oh, it looks like we have people sharing the Fiverr. That's it.
There we go.
Thank you. All right. There we go. So things that we can focus on, budget-friendly options. Again, talking with our departments, our other, your colleagues at the office within your other departments. I don't use the new business intake system that we have, but at one meeting, I discovered it was a system that also had a CRM and an ERM and experience management system that we had heard about. So obviously, wanting to understand that a little bit more, I reached out to our IT department. How long have we used this? technology, this vendor, and I was able to see that we had some economies of scale that we could, work with to focus on the same vendor, explore the options that they have that we can, take pieces of and eventually get to all of the technology that I would like to see us have. But again, did not know that we were using that vendor for a system that our attorneys may use every day, but I do not. And so it's important to have those conversations. Staffing alternatives and options. Again, talking about using your vendors and consultants, friends at LMA that you can throw ideas against and see what opportunities they have. Interns is another area. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, so we have the University of South Carolina, go Gamecocks. And the, college here has so many different opportunities for, we have college journalism, marketing, business. We can tap into those resources and get wonderful staff members who can come and support your team. And it could be project-based. So you might not have a need for a whole, intern program over the summer, but definitely can assist with specific projects. And that's another way to use consultants and vendors, and it's project-based, just to help you get through, and be successful with the project that you're working on. I think, Chris, I might let you speak a little bit about the data quality and automation.
Yeah. So yeah, data quality, they used to say 30% of your data degraded every year without sort of constant ongoing attention. Now it's literally closer to half, because, hey, the Great Resignation and global nomads, we're all working from every place, and, people keep changing jobs. And so you've really got to stay on top of this. And so, I'm seeing a lot of firms now really focused on, finally getting their data in order. Also seeing so many firms changing CRM systems right now. And a big piece of that, is getting that data ready to migrate. So, we do a lot of work. It's called data migration preparation. And we advise firms, you don't want to take all that data. You've got to be very sort of selective, and we like to be very considerate of firm budgets. You only want to identify the good data to move. And if you already have moved it, you want to make sure that you've got someone constantly reviewing your data. These great, we talk a lot about automation, and automation is great, things like ERM. But ERM is like a business card scanner for signature blocks. If you're not familiar with it, it's enterprise relationship management. And it's a great tool to let lawyers be lawyers and do what they do, but you still do have to put some eyes on it, because it's about as good as a business card scanner. It will pull in a lot of stuff that you just don't want cluttering up your database. You only want relevant data in there. So, these are all, it's all about technology. And I think that's where we're transitioning into now, right, Keely?
Yes. I think we talked a little bit about staffing alternatives and different options, outsourcing already. But one quick story I wanted to share with, bringing in consultants, and especially my experience with Chris and her team, specifically with CRM. We did not have, we had a not successful CRM experience initially, and now Chris is shepherding us through a very successful CRM experience. So, I think somebody might be.
Somebody might need to mute.
So we had, know when to bring in your consultants. The earlier, the better. We had an internal team, gosh, it's probably been 5 years ago now, that focused on, a team made up of all users, attorneys, in-house, all the folks here, to look at different technology for a CRM solution, and went through several, examples, and decided on a system that we thought would really just work. It was economical. initially, and we didn't know what we didn't know. So we started the process and then planned to bring in CLIENTSFirst Consulting to help us with the implementation, training, all the wonderful things that Kristen and her team can do, the data that she was talking about. Well, unfortunately, it just was not set up for success. And that was on the initial choice. Should have had Chris involved in that and should have had her involved in the contract, but we didn't know certain things, and now we do. And so we have moved on from that system to a much better system that is really going to be a stepping stone to get to everything else that we plan to do here. But bring consultants in early and use their expertise to fully understand what your questions are, because she'll be able to help you and other consultants as well. So I think sorry, go ahead.
We're going to talk about a lot of different technology. There's just so much, even in the marketing realm right now. These are just a few of the pieces of the puzzle. And obviously you can't get to all of them. So we're really, during this webinar, going to focus, of course, on CRM, ERM, and e-marketing primarily. And then, some other resources here we'll talk about tangentially, blogs and video podcasts and how to distribute your content. And some great free resources like Canva for your graphics. And then, of course, we're seeing a lot now with experience and proposal databases. This is some of the core technology. But I think we can kind of head to the next slide. So e-marketing and content distribution, I know this is not sexy stuff because we've been doing it a very long time, but email still is the primary method for contacting clients in a law firm. As an attorney, I can tell you, it's really important. If you can't share information about your knowledge and experience and changes in the laws and regulations, that makes it really hard for the attorneys to develop business. So that's absolutely essential. I read the other day, I want to say there are 33 billion emails sent per day or something ridiculous. Of course, half of that, the other statistic is half of that is spam, which is not great. But back to what we're trying to focus on is you've got to have to do good content distribution. You've got to have good channels. And you've got to be able to figure out where you're going to put it. And you've got to have really good lists. And again, that's a big data quality is a big piece of that. I've even got a client who they run all of their lists through our automated data cleanup service. It's very inexpensive to do before they send the emails. And, I was like, why are you doing this? Well, we know there are people on the list. Every time we keep it clean, but it's going to bounce. Some of them are going to bounce because somebody's going to move jobs. We want to research those contacts before we do the send so that they get the information. So that's another sort of best practice to do. Another is, of course, target and segment. And to do that, you need business and industry information. A lot of us just don't have that. Smaller firms, it's hard to have sort of a subscription to populate all your industries. Like I do CRM success assessments for some of the biggest firms, and they all want this data. Very few are doing it because it's incredibly expensive to buy the subscription. It's very hard to connect the subscription to the CRM, and then you have to pay. It's tens of thousands of dollars. So it'd be great to have that. But one of the ways to get all this information out, you're going to put it out in your email. You're going to put it out hopefully through JD Supra and other channels that distribute distribute the content to a much, much broader audience. I think they deliver ours like 100 times what we can do ourselves. So they're great. But repurposing the content is a really big thing. You can go to the next slide, Keely.
And one thing on that too, just another shout out for JD Supra, but it is such an easy system to use, and they do get so many more eyes on our content. The other thing too is the analytics that you can get from these technology systems is almost like another staff member right there. So definitely getting the analytics from JD Supra helps us to repurpose the content, see what evergreen topics are of interest and we can repurpose that information, republish it. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and a little bit of that on the next slide. This is something I created a while back called the Circle of Law. So I was trying to figure out how many ways could you repurpose your content. And as a smaller firm with limited time and limited budget, limited resources, you want to make the most of every piece of content that you can get the attorneys or somebody on your team to write. So again, we will share these slides after. Feel free to reach out, but I think we're going to send them to everybody. But just to think about, write a blog post. Write a series of blog posts, combine them into an article, write an article and break it into a series of blog posts, turn those into videos, do a webinar, turn that into videos. You can read this at your leisure, but there's so many ways that you can distribute this content. And as a smaller and mid-sized firm, you need to make the most of that.
Absolutely.
Next slide. All right, my favorite. I get to talk about CRM. Gotta love it. If you've heard me present, you've probably heard me say, the beauty of CRM is it can do 1,000 things. The problem with CRM is it can do 1,000 things, and it should probably do 3. But those 3 are different for every firm, and they're different sometimes for groups in the firm, practices in the firm, and even individual lawyers in the firm. So this is a lot of stuff that you're seeing here. And again, we'll give you the slides. Let's go to the next slide. Again, it should probably do 3, because really the rest of this is just bells and whistles. It's the dog and pony show. You've got to know the 3 that are important for your firm. And the providers are great. They make great software. They're good at implementation and integration and things like that. Not so good at really getting to know your firm. And that's sort of one of the things that we do is we really come in and get to know the firm to make recommendations of what are the right systems for you to look at so that you don't waste your incredibly valuable time and you don't have a failed implementation. Like I know, Keely, that was an incredible pain point for your firm. So
It was.
go to the next slide. So the right way to select this technology is to do a needs assessment. I like to say people and process and even problems first, products second. So don't just go out and start looking at demos. That's sort of the wrong way to do it. We had a firm that did that. It was a smaller firm, and they said, you got to come in. We bought this system and we're not getting any value out of it. And they bought a system. It's not on the market anymore, but it had a lot of stuff. It had a lot of stuff going on. And when we did the assessment and met with all the key stakeholders, it was a smaller firm, and everybody, what does success look like? What did you want to be able to do? Contact management, list management, contact management, list management, everybody, contact management, list management. And they had looked at another system that does that really well and was cheaper and would have been really a good fit. And I said, why did you go with this other really robust, expensive system? And they said, well, every time we saw a demo, we saw some new feature we thought was really cool that we had to have. And when we were done, that is the tool that had all those features, and we're not using any of them. And they went back and bought the other system, and it was a good fit for them. So it's really important, think about your needs first, and involve your users in gathering requirements. I like to involve the assistants or secretaries because sometimes they're really involved in this. And then what you do is you take your requirements. We call it a vendor demo roadmap that you create, and it's basically a list of here are the things we care about, here are the things not so much. Give it to the providers and say, when you do the demo in this order, we'd like to see these things, not so much. And leave those, for the end. If you want to, spend 15 minutes at the end talking about your bells and whistles, that's great. Really
the
show
actual email that
show us what
decided we had 90 days.
Sounds okay. So got somebody needed to mute. Also, we believe in calculating the long-term cost of ownership. We will actually put in a sheet, compare the vendors side by side because they don't all give you the same proposals. They don't quote the same things. And if you look at those and you can find holes where they've forgotten things or where this one has a lower price, but it's because they didn't include some of the things that you needed, you really need to have someone sit down who knows what they're doing and really put the 3 to 5 year cost of ownership so you can really compare the providers side by side. And again, also think about the commitment to relationships, the training and the knowledge of the industry of the providers, and their desire to innovate and get feedback. And again, reach out for help. I will take a call anytime. It's beginning of the year. My inbox is flooded with people going, it's a new year for CRM. Can we talk, please? Help. And I'm always happy to help. Keely's happy to help our lovely LMA community that always, we're always there for each other. It's a beautiful thing to have folks like this to lean on. So, but you might also want to consider, a new option, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. So this is sort of the sponsored part of this. I was just really excited to tell everybody in the Southeast about Tree. Tree is our new, it's not designed to be a CRM per se, it's better. We call it a total relationship engine or a true relationship engine, and it's designed to get at all of the problems with the existing technology. So I've been doing this 20 years and I've seen failed implementations over and over. And I wanted to find something that would solve the problems, especially for smaller and mid-sized firms that have smaller budgets, smaller staffs, less resources. A lot of these systems in our industry, they're great at what they do, but they're really, some of them are expensive. The implementations, the integrations can be $50, $100, $150,000. They take a lot of time, IT time, of course, the marketing BD time. You need a data steward, or there's a firm that has 4, 5, 10 data stewards. Smaller firms can't necessarily do that. And then the attorney and assistants have to get involved, and that's a lot of time too. There's a lot of training, a lot of retraining, because if people aren't in the systems, they forget. And the implementations, they take a long time. I've got a firm right now, 2 years into an implementation, still can't use the system. So I wanted to find something that would implement in a single phone call. You could train in a single hour. That was the goal, something to solve all these problems and also be really, really good for smaller and mid-sized firms. And then, of course, the data deluge, right? Firms don't have necessarily the resources to do data stewarding. And so I have a team. I have 100 people that do data stewarding. Let's let them do the data stewarding. And then you needed data enhancement. So we need to be able to target and segment. So we want industry data. We want business data, geolocation data. You don't have to buy an expensive subscription. I wanted all that to be included. Next slide. And the biggest problem is literally attorney adoption. For 20 plus years, we've been banging our collective heads on the wall, judging CRM success by, do the attorneys use the system, right? And it's been 20 years and we've done everything we can possibly do and they're not using the system. And if we judge success by that, we're not going to succeed. So what if you could redefine success and not include attorney adoption? In fact, what if you could let lawyers be lawyers and do what they do, and you could use ERM and automation and technology to build the whole system out and let lawyers be lawyers? So now that cost, that attorney time cost, is removed. And so you get more return on your investment and they are less frustrated. Go to the next slide. Because what they call this typical CRM is, hey, we spent all this money and what did we get? Well, we got a glorified Rolodex or an overpriced mailing list. I know you've all heard it. But what it means is the costs don't equate to the benefits that the attorneys feel like they're getting. Again, you've got the software and implementation and marketing time and admin time and all this time, data stewarding, integrations, you're looking at a lot of money. So what's the answer? Well, the answer is uprooting the old CRM paradigm. What if you could get a system that was really easy to use, that was reasonably priced, that could implement in literally a 30-minute phone call with minimal training, an hour to get you started, because it's focused on the things that smaller firms need, and it's very obvious and easy to use. You don't need a data steward. You get all your data pre-cleaned. You get it enhanced with business and industry information for targeting and segmenting. You get who knows who relationship automated. Not only that, but how well, so you can know, who to approach for business development. So not just the who knows who, but what we call engagement scores. I don't like to call them relationship scores. I like to call them engagement scores, because sometimes the person that's most engaged might be an associate or even a paralegal, and the partner who has the real relationship, is busy and occasionally sort of running things and occasionally just talks to the person on the phone. So it's engagement. And then, of course, being able to target and segment and build lists and send lists. Oh, and to send lists, you're going to need an e-marketing tool. What if it had a built-in e-marketing tool automatically integrated so you can get off the spreadsheets? The biggest thing we hear of smaller and mid-sized firms, what do you have for CRM? We have spreadsheets and constant contact. We have spreadsheets and MailChimp. That's what I hear. So the answer, next slide. Oh, and by the way, what if attorney adoption wasn't an issue? Well, it's not. So it's called Tree. It's our true relationship engine. It's quick to implement, easy to use, has built-in email marketing. We clean the data, we enhance the data so you don't have to, and you don't have to worry about adoption. No attorney training is required. Contacts are captured automatically from the signature blocks. Relationships are identified and scored. Then you can build lists and reports and send communications and invitations. Next slide. Let me show you a little bit of it. So this is our tree list. So you can not only build lists, build really targeted lists. So you can say, find me a list of clients. Great. Well, we're doing something in Chicago. Find me people in Chicago. Wait, find me clients in Chicago, and give them to me on a map so I can go see them. Or if we're doing an event in Chicago and attorneys going to Chicago, let me identify them on a map. Let me build a targeted list by industry, by practice, by geolocation, of C-level titles only or high-level president type titles. And then some firms do this, let the attorneys review the list. So we like to make it easy to get data in and easy to get data out. So this is the view that the attorney would actually see. You send them the list. They can add people to the list by dragging and dropping a V card. They can check yes and no to add them, to remove them. They can review their lists, and they can actually add people to it and download the contacts into their Outlook through a V card if they want to as well. Next slide. Of course, we've got to have reports. This is called, since we're called, Tree, this is our branches report, and it's another way of visualizing all of the who knows who connections and who has the top relationship. Next slide. This is our searching, not just searching, but also filtering. So you can build a multi-tiered search. You can narrow it down again by range, by location, by relationship strength, job titles. Again, always trying to build targeted lists. And of course, you've got to be able to find people. So, you have that event in Chicago, you have an attorney going to Chicago to a conference, has some downtime. Who do we know in Chicago and where are they located? Show me a list of our clients in the Chicago area, key contacts, etc. And then our Tree mail system. So one click pushes that list into Tree mail, fully functional e-marketing tool, like a Constant Contact or like a MailChimp, but more focused on legal, A/B testing, subscription forms, analytics around campaigns, lots of reports, but also templates built for law firms. So, we've got a lot of general templates, but we've also got, client alert template. We've got an open house, a new partner announcement, things like that built in for firms. Next slide. That, in a nutshell, is Tree. I can literally show it to you in 15 minutes. We train on it in an hour or less. And we think it's so great that we're actually giving away, if you'd like to try Tree for free, we're doing free trials right now. So want to hit that button one more time, Keely? It's CRM really Tree imagined, contact and relationship management, Tree imagined. And so if you reach out to me, if you'd like to try it for free, all you have to do is reach out to me. I can get you a demonstration of it, or I can set you up on a free trial of it. That's enough of that. Let's talk some more about best practices, things that people can take away besides Tree to really get something out of this that they can take back to their offices and use. Let's have like 3 nuggets, that everybody can really take back and implement. So one of mine would be assess the technology, sit down and do a needs assessment before actually finding out, going out and looking at demos. Keely?
Assess staffing needs and options. As we talked, internal resources, you never know what could turn up. I found out through a conversation several years ago that one of our litigation support members had video experience. He and then in turn was able to help us with a video project that we would have never been able to do in-house without his expertise. So definitely see where the options are for accessing different types of staffing options that you might have and need. Interns I mentioned, and of course our consultants are a great support.
Focus on the data. Can't say that enough. Really important. One of the things we wanted to make sure we built into Tree was data cleaning so that the firms would not have to do it. And again, outsource it if you need help with data stewarding. Clients First, we're here for you. Happy to. We've got hundreds of firms we work with on that. Do a cost benefit assessment when you're looking at technology. Compare them side by side. Break down the pieces so that you understand what are the right pieces that you need, and make sure that all of the providers are compared. Basically, you want to be able to compare software apples to apples.
It's very important, especially like in our first foray into the CRM system. We felt we had done that. We did not do it as detailed enough. And then realized, like, once we got into the first set, the first part of the implementation, that was all great. Then the second part of the implementation is really where it fell apart and where the costs were going to increase heavily. So I totally agree with Chris there. Chris talked a lot about writing strategic content and repurposing it through, the multiple channels that we have access to, and that is key. Another tool I know that we could talk for hours about is AI, and AI, can use it so well for repurposing content. Break this down into little bits, or here is a webinar, pull it out and create several blog posts. So use the technology with AI as you can at your firm to help with repurposing the content that you and your attorneys have spent a lot of time on. And I think going along with that, social media presence on the right channels, making sure that you are putting the right information where your clients who is looking at your social media analytics can help a lot with that. And also there are so many different tools to automate some of the sharing on social media. We use Hootsuite, a relatively economical option, but there are a number of different ones out there.
Yeah, one of the things we built into Tree as well, I didn't think about that, was we have the ability to, we add LinkedIn links automatically, because you want to be doing, more research and easily get to those contacts within a click.
Absolutely.
Yep. And if anybody needs help with CRM, ERM, e-marketing, or data quality, feel free to go to crmsuccess.net. That is the blog on my website. Also in that website, our resources page has, not hundreds, but thousands of articles, white papers, and videos, checklists and things on CRM, e-marketing, and data quality success, outsourcing. So feel free to go to the website and sign up for our weekly crmsuccess.net newsletter, and the blog posts are brought to your desktop through that channel.
And Chris, it looks like we had a question about Tree Mail. Can you send content internally with Tree Mail?
Yeah, so it's an e-marketing tool. I'm happy to take that one, offline and talk more about it. But yeah, absolutely. You can set up distribution lists to do that.
Oh, great. I see also Kimberly responded on that too.
Sign up for a free tree trial. Can't say that enough. And don't do it alone. Super important. Again, reach out to consultants, providers. Thank you so much for the shout out, Keely. We are honored to be part of this amazing LMA community and always happy to help, as are, pretty much anybody in this industry will take a phone call.
Yeah. Definitely follow Chris, reach out to either of us. We've got our handy QR codes here that you can scan with your mobile, and also our contact information there. We will share the slides, and I know that Lee recorded, so we will be able to get those resources to you, and definitely feel free to reach out to me or to Chris with additional questions on technology and doing more with less at a smaller mid-sized firm.
Yep. And we wanted to make sure, obviously scan our codes, connect with us on LinkedIn. I always like, this is a really cool tip, your attorneys may not have seen this, so show them how they can put their QR codes on their presentations. It's always a good tip to do that too, share the knowledge, share the wealth. Yeah, again, we'll both take a phone call anytime, but we want to make sure we left a few minutes for questions. So we have a few minutes left, and some people, if you have to get back to your life, feel free. But let's grab some questions. Let's see. We just got some very nice comments here.
See, there's a question of, can you go over a high level the different latency of Tree versus other top CRMs?
I'm not sure what they mean in terms of latency.
See if they can.
If you want to, I'm not sure who that is. It just says iPhone. So if you want to reach out to me directly, we can certainly chat about whatever that means. Oh, talk about Fiverr.
On the iPhone, Fiverr, several. What did I initially use Fiverr for? I think I needed to do a voiceover for some video that we were doing, and I don't even know if it was here at the firm. I think it might have been at the consulting firm, but you can go on Fiverr, reach out, like post what your project is, and independent contractors who are focused on that technology, design, PowerPoint, voiceovers, they will respond and literally take care of your, you just contract with them real quickly online, and they'll take care of the project. It's really valuable.
Yeah. Somebody had a question. It looks like, what are the differences between Tree and other CRMs? So the idea is Tree was purpose-built for smaller and mid-sized firms. It is designed to be quick and easy to implement for firms that don't have a ton of staff and a ton of budget. It is focused on the core of CRM that firms most need. So the ability to do centralized contact management, to keep data clean, correct, complete, and updated, to be able to do a lot of robust searching and targeting and building lists, to add business and industry information, again, to be able to target, and then to take this data, to have the attorneys involved, if you so desire, to have them be able to review lists if needed, and then to quickly and easily have a connected e-marketing tool to pop those lists into, so that you could then do campaigns, things that, sort of the blocking and tackling. I like to think of CRM as sort of macro and micro. There are things that everybody's got to be able to do, like e-marketing and event management. That's what Tree's designed specifically for. And to make it really easy and inexpensive and quick to implement and to use. That's kind of the difference. That was the purpose-built methodology behind it.
I'm a solo at a firm of 20 lawyers, and I have my first intern. Yay, what are some project ideas I can get them involved with? University business student with a marketing minor. So definitely see if they have experience with social media. I mean, that's their language, that generation. And our intern really has done some creative just designs for us for social media, primarily in Canva. If you're not using Canva, we talked about it a little bit, but definitely one of the best design tech tools that's out there. So affordable and so user friendly. So that's one major area where our intern helps. If anybody else has some suggestions on their intern, focus, please share it in the chat. JD Supra, agree with Chris, absolutely. If you are wanting to get your content outreach even more than your social media, your website, your blogs, and your attorneys sharing your information, JD Supra has a massive readership, and with in-house counsel and also media, so they can share your information. I'd be glad to talk to you offline about it. There is our firm is using Intap One Place. How is Tree different in terms of what it offers in the user experience? I think Chris can probably talk to you a little bit more about that offline.
Yeah.
But as she
Happy to-
mentioned,
I'll write that down. Kelly, happy to talk offline about that.
yeah. And definitely encourage you to look at a demo. Chris shared it with me some time ago, so it's great.
What other questions do we have? And again, feel free to use our QR codes and reach out. And I'm happy to set up times to talk with anybody. That's what we do. That's why we're consultants.
I don't see any other questions in the chat.
That means you actually get 3 minutes of your lives back.
Great. Well, thank you all for being with us. Chris, thank you so much.
That was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you everybody for joining.
Thanks, Lee, for getting it set up for
Thanks,
us.
Lee.
We appreciate it.
You're the best, Lee. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.